JoAnne, Jimmy, welcome to another episode of Unseen Libya. Actually, this, of course, is our YouTube lead-in. How are you two doing tonight?
We're doing real good. There's so much going on worldwide that it should stagger all of us. All you can do is put one foot after the other.
Exactly.
Pretty interesting what's happening.
They say something like you should live in interesting times, right? I think we're doing that.
Yeah.
I'd like it to get interesting on the positive side, though.
Yeah, exactly. I think interesting times plus a disaster. I guess it depends on your definition of interesting. But as we always do, we're going to focus tonight primarily on the latest developments in Libya and the surrounding region in North Africa. It's a lot of people in America, I think, have been really distracted by what's going on with COVID-19 and the upcoming presidential election and new smears against Donald Trump every day. But people who are watching us every Monday night know we've got our sponsor exclusive segment that people can see on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty, as well as patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. You guys have got LibyanWarTheTruth.com, where you're constantly updating people. What happened during the Al-Fatah celebration this year? Anything interesting?
Oh, yeah. Almost every city had a celebration with the green flags. That's the green flag of the Jamahiriya that they had for, 48 years under Gaddafi, or 47 years. I don't remember exactly how many years.
So they were celebrating the Gaddafi.
Successful story for Libya is what they were celebrating. Some of them were arrested by they thought were their friends. There's a lot of factions in Libya who do not want the Jamahiriya back. They don't want any of the Gaddafi family back. They don't want the friends and tribes of those people.
These are they're not really Libyans. Most of them are foreigners.
A lot of them are mercenaries. This man who was put in there a lot of them were put in by the UN. A lot of foreign intervention in Libya. The Libyan people need to vote for their own leaders. They haven't done that since 2014 because in 2014 they had an election. And they threw out all the Muslim Brotherhood. And so all the Muslim Brotherhood and their mercenaries attacked the elected people. They had to move to Tobruk.
And of course, the U.S., UN, and NATO went along with the mercenaries in Libya and immediately recognized this nonsense, non-elected government, UN-appointed government, and said, "Oh, those are the real guys." And, of course, the U.S. is guilty of doing that. This Guaido in Venezuela never elected to anything. And Trump and Pence and all, the only legitimate president of Venezuela. This kind of crap the United States does all the time.
Well, it's like if Russia were to say, sorry, United States, we're appointing a government for you and we're making
Herbie Felterbach.
Yeah, somebody we just picked out that's our friend over here and hates you. We're going to put them in there, and they're going to steal everything from the country, and you won't have any say.
But
you don't think people would like that?
No. The bad guys are masters at deflecting our attention away from what they're really doing.
Yeah.
And the latest thing, they're really trying to throw rocks at Trump for his tax returns, and of course they don't mention anything about the gazillions of dollars that the Hillary and Bill stole through their nonsensical
501c3
charities. Biden and his son stole gazillions of dollars, primarily out of Ukraine, but in other areas they don't talk about the money that's been taken out of China. And all these pay-to-play schemes are in the hundreds of millions to the billions of dollars. And, of course, there's no tax return on that. So, the illegitimacy of that money, that's not ever mentioned. But take a guy that's filed a tax return. Oh, no, he's a bad guy.
Yeah, but he's a man that is not taking a salary for 4 years now. Has donated his salary. Has,
It's diversion of our
It's
focus.
Absolute diversion. It's diversionary tactics. Create more chaos. If I'm doing something in this hand, you won't see what I'm doing over here in this hand.
Well, you've hit it on the head, JoAnne. It's misdirection. It's the classic tactic of a magician and illusionist. Like, I've spoken quite a lot about how when my time in Hollywood was over, my production company suffered a pretty substantial financial decline. I lost a ton of money. I mean, not compared to Donald Trump, but for me, it was a lot. And I did not pay taxes for several years after that because my accountant said, we're carrying this loss over, this many number of years, and the amount of money that I earned did not exceed that loss for several years. So if people looked at my tax returns, like Donald Trump, I didn't pay very much money at all for certain types of tax. You still have to pay real estate tax and sales tax and whatever other kind of tax. But personal income tax, which is what they keep talking about, it's, as you said, JoAnne, this is a diversionary tactic because you print that in the newspaper and now everywhere we have all these memes talking about, oh, I paid more tax than the president. Before you can even explain it to people, they already have it locked in their brain that Trump is somehow doing something illegal.
A full-time employee for General Electric, the woman that washes the floors at night, pays more tax than General Electric.
Right.
The tax law is some thousands of pages thick. It's designed so that the corporations never pay tax. It's only the sheeple that pay the tax. And all these are legitimate inclusions in the tax law that benefit folks with a lot of money. And most of us don't ever get to the level that we are able to appreciate all those non-taxable events. But let's look at all the professional sporting corporations, the Dallas Cowboys, and all, every one of
501c3.
501, every one of them.
How is that allowed?
It shouldn't be.
Cronyism,
but obviously,
it's cronyism.
Who's on the inside and who's not. So, you go to a sporting event, you pay $20 for a flat stale beer that's obviously been filtered through a horse, and the guy that is selling you the beer is non-taxable event. So
no, wait a minute. Look at this. The foundation group has this thing here because what you're saying, Jimmy, I've heard that before, and this thing is saying the NFL drops its tax exempt status. We're going to have to look into that. The interesting thing is, we've spoken about this lawsuit against me by the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. They're a 501c3. How is that? Like, what are they?
Yeah, really. Why are all kings 501c3s? No kings are they never pay any tax.
Yeah.
There's no tax levied on them.
Yeah, that was designed not for us. It's just for them, But I mean, this is a diversion tactic, and what they're doing. And we've got our insider that told us that there are 1,000 groups. He called them cells that are all lodged in hotels all over the United States, and the day after the election, no matter who's elected, they're going to start rioting throughout the United States.
1,000 cities.
And to back that up, Rush Limbaugh said last week that he spends 4 days a week at the Biltmore because his studios are no longer at his home, and so they live at the Biltmore for 4 days a week. And he said there's all kinds of strange people that have been in the Biltmore for some time.
Wow.
And he asked the manager of the hotel, who are these? He said, I don't know. So Rush approached one of them, and he said, hi, what are y'all doing? And he said, what are y'all doing here? Where are you from? What are you doing? And they said, we're here to change the world.
Oh.
And they're hard-looking people. And a friend of ours that's management of the Hyatt and another group of hotels in the Dallas area, they said that their hotels are full, and all the people that are there have carte blanche, unlimited room service, etc., and their bills are prepaid. They can draw down the letter of credit twice a day to pay all the expenses of these people. They're in hotels all over the United States.
Who's paying that?
Soros and Company.
How do we know? How do we find that out, though? Because that seems like something they could take action against.
No, they can't. Jason, they
Who are
could
they
stop.
go against?
It would be so easy. I've said this so many times. They could stop all the money flowing to these subversive organizations with a snap of a finger, and they don't do it. And there was a list, if you remember, we put out the list last week of all the Soros companies, and all of them are non-taxable. None of them are registered companies. There's no registration. Just like Charles has backed up everything on the Clinton organization, they're illegal. They've never registered properly. Their minutes are not in order, etc. All these entities that are falling under these veils of protection are phony. And the
Wow.
Fed could stop the flow of money to all these subversive organizations with a snap of a finger, because you cannot move money through the Fed system without having approval. At least $5,000. Yeah, anywhere in the world, but inside the United States especially.
But the Fed doesn't want to stop it, obviously.
Yeah.
There's collusion there.
Well, they want to stop
everybody-
Trump, is what they want to stop.
Yeah, exactly. But it doesn't matter who gets elected, they're still going to do this. This is how they took Libya. They were in 16 cities all at the same time.
Actually, 18.
18 cities. They went into the police department. They were armed. They were trained. They
firebombed.
They had
the police
leaders there
stations.
with them. They firebombed the police stations. They took all the weapons.
And then started firing at everybody.
And they went and mowed down the military bases. They pulled down the walls with tanks. Took all the weapons out. This happened all within a matter of a couple days. So
Wow.
it's a scheme. It's a plan. It's not.
This is their planned chaos, and it's here in the United States. It is already geared up. They're signed, sealed, delivered. They're prepared. They're equipped, and all these bad guys are delivering their hardware, Molotov cocktails, bricks, etc. They're delivering that hardware, and they're staging it in places. I asked our informant. I said, What are you talking about? 1,000? Are there going to be 1,000 cities? He said, no, in some cities like New York and other large cities, there may be 15 or 20 groups. They're going to hit areas all at the same time. But all the big cities, you're going to see every major city in the United States. I said, does everybody know about it? He said, of course they do. FBI, CIA, all of them know about it.
So what are they doing?
Nothing. They're because they're part of the problem.
The FBI is corrupt to an nth degree.
Yeah.
The CIA is a rogue entity.
We've got two.
They
really
do what
good,
they want. They don't listen to anybody. They don't go under any.
We've got two really good articles that we're going to do in our paid show about the CIA, about how they've never been working for the United States. Two really good articles. We didn't put that out, but we saw a report that the post office was throwing out ballots, mail-in ballots for Trump, and they had that in not just one location, but several. So that means that the post office is in collusion with the bad guys to break the election.
Well, they're
Not
bureaucrats.
surprised.
They're
The post
bureaucrats.
office, yeah, and they're the most incompetent agency. If you could, maybe the DMV is in competition with the post office. Jack is watching us on Periscope, and he's asking if we're going to mention anything about Erdogan's mercenaries fighting alongside Azerbaijan. I haven't heard anything about that.
We got three articles on that.
They're trying to start a war.
They've already started a war. That war is beginning right now as we speak. And the funny thing about that is that for a long time, Russia was intervening. However, Russia kind of plays this game where they stay friendly with both sides. And what happened is Turkey was always aligned with the Armenians. All of a sudden, Turkey flipped. Now Turkey is firing on the Armenians. We've got some video of tanks and everything being blown up. Real time, these have come in the last few hours and yesterday. So that war is starting as we speak.
Wow. Yeah, people are going to be... So I made a mistake with the title. Apparently, it still has the title from the earlier show today. I'll fix that afterwards. But we're going to be talking about this orchestrated chaos that's going on in Libya and how each week, even though we had some early signs a few weeks ago that seemed to indicate things might be improving, it just seems like they won't allow that to happen. They keep agitating and agitating. It's the same thing that we're seeing here. Just when we think something's going to let up, these horrendous globalists and their supporters keep agitating in the same sort of way.
They're not going to allow the Libyan people in the street to have a vote. And these foreign interventions, they keep having these meetings and everybody, we're going to set the vote off for 18 months. And the Libyan people have had enough at all of them.
10 years they've had it set off.
And they're ready to
that's
have
from
a vote.
last week. What you have up there is from last week.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, boy. Okay. Well, I'll make sure I get that straightened out. How did I do that? Oh, because today's the 28th, not the 21st. I copied the wrong thing. We'll have that straightened
I hope
out
so.
in time. We've got 15 minutes until our sponsor exclusive show begins on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty. And it really is important for Crowdsource the Truth viewers, those of you who can, to please sponsor the co-hosts as well as sponsoring Crowdsource the Truth. I couldn't do these shows without Jimmy and JoAnne. They're in direct contact with the tribal leaders there in Libya. They're the only people ever known to the United States intelligence apparatus to have achieved that. General Michael Flynn said they were the best source of human intelligence on Libya that the United States has ever had. People who are seeing Jimmy and JoAnne for the first time tonight should definitely go visit LibyanWarTheTruth.com. And if you sponsor Jimmy and JoAnne on Patreon, you can order their DVD. You're going to get free shipping on the DVD, so you save $5. It's a $15 disc. And it's $5 to ship it domestically. You know, we've joked in the past shows about how DVDs are a little bit outmoded, but it's going to start coming back around because as we start getting shut down from these various social media platforms, which is just happening rampantly, having a physical item that stores the information may become one of the best ways to make sure you get to see it. Now, guys, we've got Bonnie watching on Facebook. I'm now able to interact with our Facebook viewers during the show because of a software upgrade. And Bonnie is saying that Gavin Newsom is buying up all of these hotels for pennies on the dollar and putting homeless people in there. I haven't heard about that, but it's something we've suspected, certainly here in New York as well.
Okay, do you think that he is this poor too dumb to learn, never knew his father person, is providing homeless people with shelter and also giving them a carte blanche for room service, etc.?
At the Biltmore.
You know, believe me.
This was at the Biltmore. No, this is a different deal. That may be going on too.
Right.
But what we're talking about is completely different.
We're talking about high-end hotels. We're not talking about Motel 6 or something. The Biltmore, you know, the Hyatt and other hotels like that. And this is here in Texas. We had that validated to us. So, you know, when we hear Rush say it, and then we get validation from a local source.
And we don't listen to Rush, but somebody posted it, and then I contacted them, and they said, yeah, what Rush said was that he asked the manager of the hotel, and he said, you know, every hotel around here is having this going on in them. That's what they told him.
Man,
how can they not act? How can they not say something? Why don't the cops go there? I mean...
Because the cops
they're paying their bills, they're not breaking any law.
The cops are no longer constitutional entities. They're revenuers. That all changed when Kennedy was president. So their job is to bring money into the system. They're all now foreign-owned corporations, for-profit corporations, and their job is to bring in money. And those guys are brought in there by the deep state with this plan that they've had in effect for a long time. Listen to what the Democrats tell us out front, and I'm picking on Democrats, but really and truly, there's enough subversives inside the Republican Party too. This bastard we got in Texas is as criminal a traitor as ever has drawn a breath. Mm-hmm. So there's 49 governors.
And Tom on Facebook. Sorry to interrupt, JoAnne, but he's raising an excellent point. Homeless people in the hotels, it gives them a mailing address so that they can vote by mail. So this could be another tactic.
Yeah, but I don't think there's a chance. If they actually counted the votes and had an actual vote, have you ever looked at Trump's who comes to his rallies now? I mean, hundreds of thousands of people. Biden, there's been 4 of them lately where 8 people showed up. 6 people showed up, and they have pictures of them. They tried to take it out of the media. One of them, Biden didn't even show up. His wife had to go talk, and she apologized for him. Well, everybody needs to give him a pass because he's had 3 strokes.
And, listen, Jason, they have these Trump trains going on all over the United States. They do them on water, land. There's one here in Texas. They had a 55-mile-long stretch of cars, nonstop, bumper to bumper, 55 miles long along the western border of Texas.
No, it was on the southern border.
Yeah, that's west and south. Texas is a big state, darling.
Okay. Yeah, but okay.
So, I mean, the fact is these are happening all over the United States. The crowds coming out for Trump are huge, but it's not just here. They've had huge crowds in Trafalgar Square. Many times there have been peaceful protests.
Well, did you see?
And Johnson came out with the goon squads and attacked it was a peaceful protest. they came out, then the British police with batons started beating those people at the Trafalgar rally with their batons, knocked women to the ground, kicked them and everything. And then the news said the protesters attacked the police. Bullshit. You know, this is the media doing a disservice.
Yeah.
They should be thrown in jail.
Well, did you see on the 26th all the people that were in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah.
I've been seeing so much.
Well over 100,000, I think, people were there.
Illinois, huge.
But no, the one in Washington, D.C. was Christians who went to support
pray.
Trump and to pray, and they sang songs and stuff. They filled up in front of the Lincoln Memorial. They filled it all the way up to the Washington Memorial.
Wow.
We're going to talk about that, and that wasn't even reported.
Amazing.
Huge amount of people.
I tell you, and Trump's been nominated by 3 different bodies for Nobel Peace Prizes. They're talking about his taxes. Nobody mentions even the simple fact that I mentioned, which is if taxes are complicated. If you just have a job that you go to and get a paycheck every week and you make 30 or 40 or 50 grand, taxes are pretty simple. If you have investments that lose hundreds of millions, and I don't know what he's doing, but if it's illegal, first of all, if it is illegal,
bankruptcies, he had some big losses.
Right.
But the thing is, Jason, these people who are making any politician out there who throws stones at Trump for this, they're living in a glass house. They're living in a glass house. The rocks are going to come right back at them.
Let's look at the politicians. Here's some detail about every criminal bastard in Washington, D.C. I don't care how much money they had when they go into Washington, D.C. to go to work as civil servants. But their average wealth increases by $1 to $3 million a year. Their salaries have gone up, and lobbyists go through the roof. I read a real interesting article about Stockholm, about what their in fact, I think we'll put that on our Patreon. The government, the Congress and the Senate in Stockholm get about $4,200 a month. They get a little studio apartment that does not have a separate bedroom. It's got a single bathroom. They have to pay for all their own meals. And if they want a family member to come and spend the night with them in their government-provided facility, they have to pay for it. They cannot raise their salaries. They have to pay for their own income tax, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there are a few legitimate countries around.
Well, let me ask you something, just looking at this chart, because I was going to comment on something that the universally recognized genius Alyssa Milano posted about Joe Biden, but let's take the Washington Post at its word here. They're saying that the first year of his presidency, Barack Obama paid $1.8 million in taxes. How much money is he earning, and where is it coming from? The presidential salary is $400,000 a year. And what other businesses did Barack Obama have? Where did he get all this money?
Well, some guys wrote some books for him that he authored, and he made a bunch of money off of those books. And his speaking income, even while he was a senator and everything, were extraordinary.
You can't get paid as the president.
No, when he was a senator. No, come on. He wasn't making $2, $3 million, $4 million a year making speeches. And how the hell did George W. Bush only pay $250,000? Doesn't he own ranches and have a familial wealth from energy companies? I think all of this is nonsense.
He's heir to.
Yeah.
Well, we're almost out of time here on our YouTube preview, guys. So we're going to be getting into detail on all of this and so much of the stuff from Libya and Azerbaijan and what's going on with Erdogan and all the mercenaries that he's bringing in and all that. So people are going to be able to join us on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty and patreon.com/crowdsource the truth. Just real quick, in 2 minutes, anything else you guys would like to say before we make the transition over?
We're going to be covering a whole lot of information, but we document all of it with the name of the article and the link, so they can go back and peruse those at their own leisure after the fact.
Right. We'll put our PDF with all those links and everything on the Patreon site under those. All of our patrons will be able to get a copy of that. So
Right.
they
It's
can
important for people to recognize that Jimmy and JoAnne spend all week aggregating this information. They're on the phone, they're on Skype with the people in Libya. So this is their report. It's going to be available on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty for people to download and peruse themselves. We're going to be talking about it, of course, on both channels, but I want to make sure that people know there's an added benefit to sponsoring Jimmy and JoAnne. So I hope that people will do that. And we'll be back in just under 5 minutes. And I will look forward to seeing everybody there. Thanks for watching.